That was the last time anyone heard from Ethan Cole. No body was ever found, no evidence, no signs of forced entry or struggle. 1 second, he was live on air, talking to his listeners. The next, he was gone. His last words, spoken in a breathless, terrified whisper, were the only clue left behind. For decades, the recording was sealed away, locked in a forgotten archive. But now, it's playing again. And if you're listening, you're already part of it. The Forgotten Signal. Daniel Carter wasn't afraid of ghost stories. He had spent years chasing them, exposing hoaxes and unraveling urban legends. But this wasn't a ghost story. Ethan Cole's vanishing was real. The moment Daniel found the case, he became obsessed. A radio host disappearing mid-broadcast, leaving behind nothing but a cryptic message. It was too bizarre to ignore. The old WKRZ 103 radio station had been abandoned for nearly 30 years. Officially, it had shut down due to financial struggles. Unofficially, the locals knew better. Bad things happened there, an old man at the diner told him. "You don't go near that place, son," warned another. They never said why. That only made Daniel more determined. His research led him to an audio archive, buried deep in the town's records. That's where he found it, Ethan's final recording. It wasn't just eerie. It felt wrong. Daniel played the tape alone in his apartment, well past midnight, with only his desk lamp casting weak light against the walls. The recording started normally, Ethan's smooth voice rolling through the air, talking about urban legends, listener calls, the usual. Then he stopped. Dead air. Silence stretching too long. Then shuffling noises. A faint whisper, impossible to understand. And then Ethan spoke again. "It sees me." A burst of static swallowed the words, distorting violently. The tape cut off. Daniel rewound it, listened again, and again. The whisper before Ethan's final words. It was never the same. Every time he listened, it changed. It was like something was responding to him. That's when he made the worst decision of his life. He went to the station. Inside, WKRZ 103. The night was cold. Too cold for mid-autumn. A thick fog curled through the streets as Daniel approached the station, standing like a decayed corpse at the edge of town. The building was still intact, but barely. The sign was faded, letters peeling. The windows were blackened, covered in grime. A radio tower loomed over the building, rusting and silent. Yet, as Daniel stepped closer, he heard it. A low humming sound. The station was still broadcasting. But that was impossible. The doors were locked. The front windows were boarded shut. But the side door, someone had forced it open long ago. Inside, the air was thick with dust, but the place wasn't completely dead. The main console, the broadcasting equipment, was still on. The red live light blinked faintly. Daniel's breath hitched. Someone, or something, was still transmitting. Against every instinct screaming at him to leave, he stepped forward, adjusting his camera. He tuned his portable radio to 103.7 FM. The static shifted, and then a voice crackled through. "If anyone is listening, do not look into the dark. It knows you're there." Daniel's stomach dropped. That was Ethan's voice. But this part of the tape, this was never in the original recording. His pulse hammered as the radio static warped, the frequency twisting into something unnatural. Then, the whisper returned. But this time, it spoke clearly. "You're listening, Daniel." Daniel's heart stopped. No one was supposed to know his name. The radio screeched, the lights flickered, and the door he had entered through? It was gone. The thing in the static. The walls stretched. The corridors were no longer the same. Daniel turned, his flashlight flickering, the air around him thick and suffocating. And then he saw it. A figure in the distance, not moving, just standing, watching. Daniel's breathing turned shallow. He lifted his camera, staring through the viewfinder, and nearly dropped it. There wasn't just one figure. There were dozens, flickering in and out of existence like corrupted video frames. Their faces were blurred, their bodies distorted, shifting unnaturally. And then they moved. Daniel ran. The station twisted around him, halls looping into themselves, doors leading to nowhere. The voices, so many voices, filled the space around him, whispering, crying, screaming. Then, suddenly, silence. Daniel found himself back in the control room, but he wasn't alone. Ethan Cole was there, standing motionless at the microphone, back facing Daniel. Daniel's voice trembled. "Ethan?" Slowly, Ethan turned. His face was wrong.